If you have a burning passion to become financially free, this is the best video that you can watch. I know that's a big claim, but I also know the years of effort, the time, the mistakes, and the wins that have gone into everything that you're about to see. And even more importantly, I know what it feels like to have that burning desire to want to become financially free, to be willing to do what it takes to get there, but not knowing exactly what you need to do and in what order to make it happen for yourself. And so this video is everything that I wish someone had handed me back at the start of my journey. If we haven't met before, my name is Lili, and if we have met, welcome back. This is my second YouTube channel. My first channel is where I documented building a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio, and as my business and content grew, I started helping other business owners to use the strategy and content methods that I used in order to grow. And with my very first client, we took him from 121 subscribers to over 240,000 subscribers on his channel, which now drives traffic to his #1 ranked school community. And so I am absolutely obsessed with building online businesses that give you time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. And so I'm excited for you to dive into this masterclass. If you like what you learn here, you're going to love our business boosters. There are 4 of them, and right now you can claim one completely for free. Inside of our school community, which is called the Financial Freedom School, they each usually sell for $297. But right now, when you join, we'll send you a DM asking you which one you want for free. And when you come to our Financial Freedom Masterclass, which is also free, we'll send you your business booster of choice. So there's a link for that in the top comment, and let's get started. There are only 2 types of businesses worth building. One is a lifestyle business and one is a performance business. A lifestyle business prioritizes the 3 F's of freedom, flexibility, and fun. You work when and where you want, doing work that you actually enjoy. This type of business needs to generate anywhere between $250K per year to $5 million per year. I'll tell you where we get those numbers in a second. A performance business, on the other hand, is built to sell. And in order to do that, it needs to generate about $6 million per year so that it can sell for upwards of $10 million. Okay, so why these numbers? The average American household makes about $110K per year between 2 salaries. We can call it a $60K salary and a $50K. And that's typically done through a traditional job. Being an entrepreneur, on the other hand, it's not worth it if you are just going to end up making the same amount that you would in a traditional job. You're gonna work way harder for way longer hours and have higher risk and higher expenses when you do this on your own. So to make it worth it, you need to make at least 2.5 times more than you would in a traditional job. So that's why we say that a lifestyle business needs to generate at least this $250K per year to really give you that freedom, fun, and flexibility that you're looking for. But this is a wide range, and we should all narrow that down a bit so we know the exact financial freedom number that we're aiming for. My financially free life may not look like your financially free life, may not look like somebody else's financially free life. So in order to figure out your financial freedom number, I made a calculator that's linked in the top comment where you can put in the exact type of house you want to live in, car you want to drive, how often you want to travel, all of those types of things, and get out the financial freedom number that you should be aiming for. Again, that's if you want to pursue a lifestyle business, which is the type of business that I'm trying to pursue. Because the next level up is not about building a business that's just valuable to your life, but valuable enough to the world to sell. And that gets really, really hard because you really do have to get to that $6 million per year mark before someone is even going to think about selling your business. So that's why I choose to pursue a lifestyle business, and that's what I'll talk about in the rest of this video. And as a quick note, a lifestyle business is going to have a team around you of about 6 to 12 people, with 8 people being the sweet spot. A performance business, you would have about 30 employees on the team. But here's where most people mess up. They ask, do I have a skill that could make at least $250,000 a year? But that's the wrong question. You get paid for the value of the problem that you solve. A bottle of water in a desert is worth way more than at home. A locksmith at 2 a.m. charges far more than if you were locked out at 2 p.m. And you would expect a plane ticket on Christmas Eve to be way more expensive than the normal price. So don't ask, what can I do? Ask, what do others need? I learned this the hard way with my YouTube agency. At first, I thought we were selling video editing for YouTube, but the value is not in the edits. Now I know that the value comes from solving the problem of a business owner who doesn't know how to grow on YouTube and doesn't have the time or team to produce the content. That's what makes my agency more valuable and therefore makes us more money. So How do you know the value of the problem that you're solving? It all depends on the market that you're in. Myron Golden defines this really well by saying that there are 3 types of markets. There's the commodity market. This is where you're selling something where pretty much all of the options are going to solve the problem in the same way. I will go to Lowe's looking for wood nails. All of my options are going to nail into wood. The only way that the buyer decides what to go with is price and a tiny bit of brand loyalty. I'm going to look for basically the cheapest nail. I'm definitely not looking at the most expensive. And if there's a type of nail that my dad used, but it's like the second cheapest, I might still go with that. And it's not that something is a commodity because it solves a small problem. It's a commodity because the problem has been solved so much and so well that the only way the businesses behind that commodity can compete is by lowering their prices. This is a horrible place to put yourself in, not only because you have to have a low price, but because at the beginning of your journey, you'll likely also be selling low volume. You probably don't own Lowe's, and so you don't have a ton of people already going out looking for your thing that you're gonna solve. So this is a recipe for going out of business before you really even get going. Just stay out of the commodity market. The second market is the mass market. And this is where you're solving a problem with a little more differentiation from your competitors than you had in the commodity market. Think about your neighborhood grocery store versus a Whole Foods. They're solving the same problem of getting people the food they need, but instead of just setting prices based on the cost of the food, Whole Foods has an extra markup because they've created the value of getting organic options and eliminating things like harmful dyes and chemicals. But at the end of the day, there's only so much higher that Whole Foods can take their prices. If they go too high, people will just go to the neighborhood store. So Whole Foods is still anchored down to have relatively low prices. General grocery stores on average have about a 2% margin, meaning they make just 2 cents on every dollar that they bring in. Whole Foods will be lucky to push that to 4%. So in the mass market, prices are still low, maybe not as low as the commodity market, but because this is a mass market, there's a massive amount of people who have this problem. And so you're gonna have a higher volume to be able to sell to. So it's a little bit better than the commodity market, and you can make this work, but it's really hard for absolute beginners. You would need to either have a lot of money to invest in paid ads and outreach up front to solve that volume problem, or if you have a large audience, that's where your volume would come from. But again, it's hard. For example, I used to sell a $7 product, and I have a pretty large audience, so I was able to sell almost 3,000 of them and make about $20,000. If that doesn't completely add up, there's probably some refunds or something in there. But again, at the minimum, for a lifestyle business, we're aiming for $250,000 per year. So while $20,000 is great, it doesn't get us even close to that. I also sold a $597 product, and while I only sold 202 of them, because it's more expensive, I made $117,000. That's almost 6 times more revenue with 10 times fewer customers. And this is why it's so hard to play the low price game, even if you have high volume. That $117,000 still only gets me halfway to what I need for a lifestyle business. And it took me years and years to build up the audience to make this type of money anyway. That's why we have to move on to a different market that's going to let us play an entirely different game. And that's the premium value market. This is where price is driven by the perceived value of the problem you're solving. The bigger the problem, the more people you're dealing with who care more about solving that problem than the price tag that comes along with it. And this is where you want to be if you want to have a real lifestyle business. Because once you start having a higher price, even with low volume, that can still create financial freedom. Let's say you make $5,000 per sale of your product or service. With 5 sales, you'd make $25K per month or $300K per year. And if you made 25 sales per month, that's $125K or $1.5 million per year. Now compare that to selling something for just $500. In order to have that same $25,000 per month, instead of 5 sales, you would need 50. And to hit $1.5 million per year, 3,000 sales. And let me tell you, it is a lot easier to find 5 people willing to pay $5,000 than it is to find 3,000 people willing to pay $500. And the reason I believe having a personal brand attached to your business is so powerful is because it allows you to not just play this game with the high price, but also with high volume. Instead of the 25 sales per month that we had here, imagine 100 sales per month because of our personal brand. That's gonna make us $500K per month or $6 million per year. And at the end of the day, $5,000 isn't even really that premium of a product or service. Some of the multimillionaires that I'm studying have $50,000 to $150,000 offers. And this part is critical. Even if it makes you uncomfortable or it seems even unfathomable for you to ever charge that much, you have to start with high price. At minimum, $2,500 per sale. Because it's far easier to start in this premium value market and go from a low to a high volume, because you're gonna learn how to sell something at a high price and deliver it at a high price. And you don't need a ton of success at the beginning to make a significant amount of money. You'll get better and better at it, and then you just increase the volume that you sell, either through reinvesting in things like ads and outreach or by building your personal brand. If you try to start down here with low price and then figure out how to switch to selling something that's a higher price, you're gonna have to sell something completely new to a completely different person. So you won't be mastering the skills and building the business that's actually going to generate you freedom. And when each of the sales that you do make is more valuable because it's a higher price, this is the path that helps you build a lifestyle business. And you don't need to master every business book ever written. You just need to understand what market you're in and what model you're building. And once you do that, you can start making money that matches the life you actually want to live. Step number one on this financial freedom blueprint is to actually just define what financial freedom means to you by finding your financial freedom number. And the first time that I ever heard this term was when I got the chance to have lunch with a multimillionaire who asked me, what does rich mean to you? And at that time, the only idea I had in my head was like being a multimillionaire. Now, did multi mean 2 million? Did it mean 250 million? I don't know. I just knew I wanted multiple millions. And he walked me through this exercise to define my financial freedom number. He asked me, what type of car do you want to drive? What type of house do you want to live in? Do you want someone to clean that house for you? How often? Do you want someone to cook for you? How often? Do you want to travel? How do you want to travel and how often? All of these questions to define what rich meant to me. And then as step two, we went into, okay, how much do those things cost on a monthly basis? Now at that point, I had never thought of my finances really on a monthly basis. I had always thought of things on a yearly basis, like how much do you get paid? People usually respond as like their yearly salary. So I was thinking rich means I'm gonna make X amount of dollars per year. And that was one of the light bulb moments when I was talking with this millionaire, is to stop thinking of things on an annual basis, but instead monthly, just because the numbers are going to be more manageable to think about, but also we can make changes on a monthly basis much, much better than we can on a yearly basis. Like for example, many of us haven't thought about last year's New Year resolution until this year. And it's like, oh crap, an entire year has gone by before I really revisited and addressed that thing. Versus if we think of things on a monthly basis, then we're revisiting them much quicker and can make much more progress. So basically, we got a list of 20 things that would define my financially free life and how much they would cost on a monthly basis. But that's not where we stopped, because that long list of 20 things had a high price tag attached. Instead, he had me choose the 5 most important ones. Not the 5 cheapest ones, not the 5 most expensive ones, but the 5 most important ones that I wanted to pursue immediately. Like for example, I would love to spend 3 months of the year out of the country on a beach somewhere. But at that point, at the start of my journey, there were other things that I wanted to do, such as generate enough income from my business to support my living expenses so that I didn't have to go get a job. So that's your first step on this blueprint, is to think about 3 to 5 lifestyle enhancements that would make you feel more financially free. And with those things that you would like to be able to do or have, figure out how much they cost on a monthly basis. Just Google it, look on TikTok, explore, however you need to figure that out. Add up the monthly costs of those 3 to 5 things, and that is your first financial freedom number. And so now you'll have some direction of where you're looking to go on this journey. If you don't have those most important 3 to 5 lifestyle enhancements and that financial freedom number, it's really easy to make financial freedom this big kind of unclear concept that seems really hard to pursue. The other day, I was talking to one of my mentorship students in my real estate beginners bootcamp, and I was asking her how much she wanted to make from real estate wholesaling per month. And her answer was $100,000. And right now, she's never done a wholesale deal before. Now, it's not to say that's a bad goal to have, but that just seemed like a really hard thing for her to accomplish. And it was kind of making her frozen with fear, with analysis paralysis. She was like, I don't know how to get to 100K per month. I know that I want that, but I just don't know how to get there. And so it was hard for her to figure out what the first step was. But here's the thing, $100,000 per month is not her actual financial freedom number. When we talked about it and the things that she wanted to be able to do for herself and for her kids, she really needed about $10,000 per month. And so that number felt less scary for her to pursue. And it also made it easier for us to build a plan to get her to $10,000 per month. And once she gets to $10,000 per month, she will have learned a ton of things that will allow her to pursue her next financial freedom number, which is maybe $30,000 per month. And from there, she'll have learned a ton and she'll be able to make a plan to pursue $50,000 per month, and so on and so forth. But when we start with that first financial freedom number, it allows us to actually take action and go after it. And once we know what we're going after, the first stage is to have reliable, cash flow positive income. Reliable, meaning that you know it's coming. If you show up to work and you do what you're supposed to do, you know that that check is going to hit your bank account. And cash flow positive, meaning that the money you bring in each month is more than the money that goes out each month. For most people, this stage one is their job, their 9 to 5, or wherever they're an employee at. And the crucial mistake that most people make while they're here is that they're so focused on how to make money in that second entrepreneurship phase that they're not actually cash flow positive in that first stage. And the reason this is so important is twofold. First, if you are not cash flow positive with whatever reliable income source you have right now, it's going to be really hard to save up and invest in your entrepreneurship journey in the second stage. And second, being cash flow positive doesn't get any easier when you're an entrepreneur. One of the main things I'm focused on right now in my business is profitability, is making sure that we are generating the cash flow that we need to be. Because when you get on that financial freedom journey and you become an entrepreneur, you have your top line revenue, which is great. Those are the flashy numbers that people like to show. Oh, I made this much money today on YouTube, or I made this much money today from my real estate flip. But that is just the top line number. There's so much that gets subtracted from that, from taxes to the payment that goes towards anybody who works with you on your team, to paying yourself and wanting there to still be money left over in the business after that. There's a lot of those line items that come out of your revenue when you're an entrepreneur that you don't see as an employee. And that just makes it harder. So while you're in stage one, if you're able to manage your cash flow there, that's setting you up for success when you get to stage two, which is having self-directed cash flow positive income. This is probably the stage where most people would talk about passive income, and I'm not going to go there yet because it's not that passive income is a scam. We're going to get to it in just a moment, but it's not like the holy grail that most people think it is. The biggest difference that most people want from their financial freedom journey is time and location freedom. For most of us, the dream is that we're able to make more money. There's no cap on it because an employer says that this is your salary. And we want to be able to work generally when we want and generally from where we want. Right now, I'm on a bit of a working vacation. I didn't want to take the first week of the year off, like completely not working. I still wanted to work and move my business forward, but I also wanted to travel somewhere with warm weather. I wanted to play pickleball outside and enjoy a change of scenery. That is still me working. I'm just in that stage of self-directed income where I can do it with more time and location freedom than if I was an employee. And that's actually what most people want, which is why I think we should be putting our focus there instead of trying to jump immediately to passive income. So how do you start making self-directed income? You plant what's called a money tree. I've talked about this concept more in other videos that I will put in the description, but the first money tree that I want to talk about is a content money tree. And this is a type of money tree or a type of business where you create content and you make money from the different income streams. And this was one of the first types of money trees that I tried to plant 5 years ago when I decided I wanted to get rich. I started off my YouTube channel. I had no idea what I was going to be talking about. I made a bunch of random videos before I decided to start talking about my real estate journey. But when I finally got my channel monetized, that's how I was making self-directed income. The second stage on that blueprint to financial freedom. The very first day that I made money on YouTube, I'll never forget, it was August 20th, 2020, and I made $9.09 that day, which was not groundbreaking at all, but it was just proof that I could create self-directed income by planting this money tree or creating a content business. And the amount of money that I make from YouTube goes up and down all the time. My best day ever, I found a screenshot for you guys, was Thursday, December 30th, 2021, and I made $1,467 on that day. I had a video go absolutely crazy and get a ton of AdSense. But you can see there's a lot of variation between what that self-directed income makes, which is why you have your reliable cash flow positive income as stage one. You use that cash flow positivity to invest in building up your self-directed business, whatever money tree you decide to plant. And that way, while that business is going up and down and you're figuring out all the kinks, you're still able to depend on your reliable income while you're building up your self-directed income to the point that we get to stage three, where your business and your money trees are making enough money where you can choose from your list of those lifestyle enhancements and start affording them. And this stage three is what I call ownership-based income. And the difference between self-directed income and ownership-based income is that ownership-based income is going to be more reliable. And you create that difference by building a system that can do the same thing over and over again to get the same result out. So, for example, early on in my YouTube channel, I might have made $9 a day. I might have made $500 a day if I had a video do well. But that's a very risky thing to be depending on to pay my mortgage. We have our reliable cash flow positive income to start. That's what keeps us safe. We build up our self-directed income, giving us more time and location freedom. We're learning throughout that process to then be able to build up that business or ownership income that's repeatable, that we can depend on as we move further down the path of financial freedom. What if I told you that the way we're taught to manage money is exactly why most people never build wealth, even when they make a good amount, and especially if they don't? And before you think that this is another boring budgeting video, this process, your payday routine, doesn't have to be about budgeting and bills. But what it can actually be about is how you structure your path to financial freedom. I used to dump all of my income into one account, and that's kind of embarrassing to admit, but I would just put everything that I made in that account. Everything that I needed to spend would come out of that account, and I was hoping that something would be left over at the end of the month and at the end of the year. That one main account was a leaky pot. I did this for my personal income and my business income, and it gave me a serious case of bank balance anxiety. Now, I want to share the system that I found that works whether you're an employee, an entrepreneur, or you're just getting your side hustle off the ground and making a couple of bucks a month. Now, this payday routine, this system, is going to be based off of two easy to understand and easy to remember concepts. One, pay yourself first. You've probably heard of this. It's actually one of the oldest financial principles on record, but most people stop after learning the story, never having a system to actually implement this. Now, I first heard this concept in a book called The Richest Man in Babylon, and don't worry, it's not a boring finance book. It's actually told through simple stories. It's a quick read, really entertaining. And when I read that story a while ago, I connected to the idea, but I was missing the system on how to implement it. So that's why I'm going to give you both, so you don't have to wait years to piece this together like I did. In the book, there's a man named Arkad, and he lived in Babylon. Now, he wasn't born into money. He was just a scribe, basically copying scrolls for rich people every day. And he was struggling. And one day he got sick of watching the wealthy people in the city live freely while he was stuck trading his time for money over and over and feeling like he was getting nowhere. So he asked one of the richest men in the city, "How did you build your fortune?" And that man told him something simple. Part of all you earn is yours to keep. Most of us make the mistake of thinking that everything we earn is ours to keep. Oh, great, I get paid $75,000 a year, or a new client will pay me $2,000 a month. But we quickly realize how easy it is for all of our money to flow straight to bills, debt payment, expenses, none of it left over at the end. So when Arkad responded to that man that he didn't have any of his pay left over to keep for himself, the man told him something simple but profound. If nothing is left at the end, just pay yourself first. Start by immediately paying yourself 1/10 of everything you earn. And so that's what Arkad did. Every coin that he earned from being a scribe, he saved 10% of, no matter how small it was. Over time, that money started to grow. He learned how to invest it. And as his savings grew, so did his options. And with options, he was able to see and take advantage of opportunities that led to him becoming the richest man in Babylon. And this is a great idea. But of course, in real life, if your bills don't get paid, there are consequences. So can you really just take 10% of your check and decide to keep it, even at the expense of all your other expenses? This is where I discovered the system that applies this idea and changed everything. The second rule is that in order to pull this off, we have to give every dollar a job. That's the real key. So you're going to start by looking back over the last 3 months, and you're going to split your financials into 5 categories. And This is likely going to be painful. Don't say that I didn't warn you, but the clarity and freedom that's on the other side of this discomfort, this bank balance anxiety, it's going to be so worth it. I just finished this process for all of my businesses and myself personally. I literally just exported my bank statement into a Google Sheet and then categorized everything in these ways. First, you write down how much income you made, whether that's from your job or as an entrepreneur. Second, how much you had in operating expenses. Third, how much you saved or spent on taxes. Fourth, how much you paid yourself. And fifth, how much profit was left over at the end. And yes, it's important that those last two categories are different from each other. Let's say that you're working on a side hustle to replace your 9-to-5 and get more of that time and location freedom, and you've made $5,000 per month operating a trash can cleaning business in your area. Cool, that's your income number. Let's say that you spent $3,000 of that on materials like soap, water. Maybe you have one other person working in the business with you. Maybe you have payments you have to make on your power washer and your work truck. Whatever it is that you need to run your business, those are your operating expenses, also called OPEX. Then you know that as an entrepreneur, you've also got to pay your own taxes. They're not taken out of the money that your clients pay you. So you split the remaining $2,000 per month that you made between $500 for taxes. You paid yourself $1,000 and you left $500 in your business bank account. If you're not using a business bank account, you absolutely have to start. That is not a suggestion. You need to keep your business income separate from your personal income, and it's really easy to do thanks in part to my newest partner, Relay Business Banking. I actually learned about this payday routine and financial system from a book called Profit First, and that's also where I first heard about how perfect Relay is for business banking, and I literally switched all of my bank accounts over to them in one day and was so impressed that I then emailed them asking if they'd like to partner with me to help you guys out so you can do the same thing. So there's a link in the top comment for you to go sign up for your free Relay account, and you'll see that they have no fees, no minimums, and it takes just a few minutes to get set up. And that's going to be a key piece of this system so that we don't just have these 5 categories on paper, but they're going to be actual individual business accounts inside of Relay, all under your one business umbrella. So here's where we're at. 60% of our income is going towards OPEX, 10% to taxes, 20% to owner pay, 10% to profit. This is why we needed to know what's been happening over the last 3 months so that we know where we're starting, and this is where we want to go. According to Profit First, instead of 60% of the money that we make going into our OPEX account, we want to reduce that to 30%. Our taxes needs to go from 10 to 15%. Owner pay should go from 20% to 50%, and your profit should go from 10% to 5%. This is the type of clarity of exactly what to do with your money that I have been looking for years. But as a warning, do not just make big jumps to these ideal percentages all at once. If you cut your OPEX from 60% to 30% in a day, you won't be able to run your business. Instead, you want to make 1 to 3% changes every month, moving yourself towards those targets. So if you look at everything that made up that 60% of your OPEX expenses, you're just gonna do what you can to cut it by 3 to 6% at first. Then, let's say for each week in April, you go into your Relay banking account and make the transfers of your new percentages. I literally do this every single week. I did it today in my Relay accounts before I recorded this video. So we start with our income account. Everything comes into there. Then, let's say we've cut our OPEX by 6%. We'll transfer 3% more than usual to the tax savings account and 3% more than usual to owner's pay. We're gonna start slow, and we'll just leave the profit transfer at the same 10%. Not only are we being intentional with the job that each dollar is doing, but we're separating this money so we can see what it's allotted for. And you're gonna do that each week. And then next month in May, you'll reduce what goes into your profit account by another 3% and increase your owner pay by 3%. But why these numbers? This is what allows every single dollar to have a job. Your OPEX money's job is to operate your business without being so much of a strain on the rest of your company. Your tax money's job is to keep you out of jail. Your owner's pay's job is to compensate you for actually doing the work in your business. And your profit is your reward for taking the risk to start and own a business. And one thing that might be standing out to you is how much of your money you should be paying yourself with. You might think that paying yourself less at the start is the smart move, but here's why it's a trap. You're in this for financial freedom, and that means both time and location freedom. You don't always want to be the person cleaning the trash cans or whatever it is that you have to do for the client or the customer in your business. Even if you start out that way, which you should, having a reasonable amount of owner's pay allows your side hustle to become full-time faster. And if you notice, as you make more money, you completely move out of yourself working in the business. That decreases your owner's pay and increases your OpEx because you're paying others to work in the business for you, yet you still get paid with the increased profits that your company produces. But the only way that you get this level of clarity and control is if all of your money is not being dumped into and pulled out of just 1 or 2 accounts like I was previously doing. That's why I love Relay, because you can open up to 20 business checking accounts, but we're just going to start with 5 and we're going to use them for each of our 5 categories. And this is what shocked me, because when I could easily predict where my money was going and why, I stopped having that bank balance anxiety that I had with my one main messy checking account. When your money has a system like this, you stop working for money and the money starts working for you. If you stick with this week by week, month by month, you'll get rid of that bank balance anxiety and you'll start building your time and location freedom. There are 3 numbers that if you start tracking inside of your business will not just change your revenue, but will make the reasons you're stuck under $10,000 or $15,000 per month pretty much disappear forever. I break up the numbers that I track into 3 distinct segments that guide my entire business, and that's getting noticed, getting known, and then getting paid. The only thing that really matters in the business is that I can profitably move people from one stage to the next, and there's a number attached with each of those steps that lets me know if it's going well or not. The first thing that matters is how much am I getting noticed? But this is specifically for long form content views that recognize me for the problem that I want to be known for solving. At the beginning of the year, I started going all in on short form because I thought there would be a great way to transfer people from the short form algorithm, which was giving me a lot more reach and views at that time, to getting those same viewers into long form content. And I'm not saying that this doesn't happen. I think it still does, but those videos on short form started to go viral amongst the wrong audience. And so the reach wasn't actually helpful to me because I wasn't being recognized by people who had the problem that I was trying to help solve. And so instead of putting my focus on short form, which we do still absolutely make, all of my effort and tracking that goes into long form views and even more so long form watch hours. Here's why this matters so much. So I started this new YouTube channel 28 days ago. If you want to know why, I switched over from my channel that had over 220,000 subscribers to starting this new one. I will link the video explanation for that in the description. But as you can see, this channel started just over 30 days ago. And when I look at the metrics for the last 28 days, we've done just over 50,000 views with about 2.6 thousand watch hours. And if I go in and look specifically at these numbers between long form videos and shorts, you can see that while in terms of views, the split is about 75% to 25% in favor of videos, but 98% of the watch time is spent on those long form videos. And that's where optimizing for watch time rather than views is what allows you to move people from that get noticed section into the get known section where you start building up know, like, and trust. So we have our first number, which you can count as the long form watch hours or the long form views. And also this doesn't have to specifically be on videos. This could be people engaging with long form media like a podcast or like a blog or a book or something like that, or even in-person events, how much time people are spending with you. But basically, how are people noticing you and how much time are they spending noticing you? That leads to the second number, which is the conversion rate of the people that go from noticing you to raising their hand and saying that they are interested in taking the next step into your ecosystem and getting to know you. And this is typically through something like a lead magnet. So in my business, we have a lot of lead magnets that help business owners with different parts of their systems, whether it's content systems, setting up AI or automation on the back end. We have a ton of different entry points, but the number that we're aiming for is a 3% conversion rate, meaning that of our long form viewers who have noticed us, we're aiming for 3% of them to become a lead. And the reason this is so important because so many people skip the step of building trust with their audience, and that just kills your conversion rates. So here's an example of what I call the broken funnel. And this is what makes it so tough for business owners to get to $10,000 per month. And it's what made it really tough for me to try to scale past $10,000 per month. And it was skipping this crucial step of getting known and building trust. So in this broken funnel, let's imagine that someone gets noticed 5,000 times per month on some type of long form or in-depth piece of content. The problem when you skip allowing your audience to build trust with you and immediately jump to trying to get paid and just making the offer for your core paid thing right away is that you have a really low conversion rate. From everything that I researched, the conversion rate when you're trying to go directly from somebody noticing you to immediately trying to sell them your core product is around 0.02 to 0.05% of people are going to take that offer if it's anywhere significant over like $2,000. So what this ends up meaning is that you need a lot of people to just notice you in order to squeak by and get sales because you're dealing with such a low conversion rate. On the other hand, when we forget about making that sale for just a second and prove the value we can offer to the people that we want to help, we then focus on that conversion rate between getting noticed and getting known, and we're aiming for 3%. So in this case, let's say that we got noticed 1,111 times. It's going to make sense why I chose that number in just a second. When 3% of those people take that next step to actually become a lead and get into that get known section of our business, we come away with 33 people who now have a deeper trust and relationship built with us. And while 33 people may not seem like a lot, that brings us to our third number, which is the conversion rate between those who get to know us and those who decide to pay us. And in this example, we're also going to aim for 3%. And what's 3% of 33 people? 1. So if we compare the two scenarios, with the old broken funnel, we had to get noticed 5,000 times. We completely skipped the trust building stage with our audience. And because of that, we have a very low conversion rate and only make one sale. But in what I call the self-funded freedom funnel, which is the get noticed, get known, get paid process, we only need to get noticed 1,111 times instead of 5,000. We have 3% of people who take that first step to build trust with us. We get 33 people. And then we get 3% of them to take the next step in order to work with us. It's way easier to get one purchase only needing to get noticed 1,111 times versus needing to get noticed 5,000 times in order to squeak out one purchase. There's that saying that what gets measured matters, and starting to track these numbers in my business has made an absolute world of difference. And I'm all about bringing you guys with me on this journey, so let me show you how. Here's an example of how we can make $25,000, $30,000 months repeatable without even hitting those goal numbers. Remember I said on my channel that we did just over 50,000 views in our first month on YouTube? Well, I'm gonna make that more conservative by going over to the audience tab, because there's definitely gonna be people who have watched more than once. I can't really count multiple views from the same person as multiple people. So in this case, we had about 33,000 individual people come to the channel. And so I take that top number to be around 30,000 new people have noticed us in the last month. I aim for a 3% conversion rate of those people to become leads, but in the last month, we had about a 2.4% conversion rate. So that means we got about 703 new people to move from the get noticed step into the get known step. And then from there, we aim to have a 3% conversion rate down to the get paid step. But even if I just chop that in half and make it a 1.5% conversion rate on a core offer of around $3,000, that would mean that 10 people buy that. And there's your simple $30,000 per month mark. So as long as I am tracking the right numbers, that's where my focus is going to go. And then business just becomes a math equation with math that isn't really even that hard to follow. If you want a copy of the custom Google Sheet that I use to track all of these numbers, it's available for free inside of the free mini course in my school community. You can use the link in the top comment to go straight there and join for free. If you're trying to reach financial freedom by building a business of your own and you're not using content and specifically YouTube in the way that I'm about to share, you're likely working way harder than you need to and growing slower and making less money than you could be. And that might sound counterintuitive because we think about making content as something extra that we have to do on top of doing our business. Not only am I a YouTuber, but over the last couple of years, I've been building 2 separate businesses and I've gotten them both to around $30,000 per month in revenue. One where I used content in the 2 ways that I'm going to share with you, and the other where I didn't. And I'll just go ahead and spoil it. It was way, way harder to do business without using content. And that's why I'm restructuring my business so that I get the benefits of using content for everything that I'm doing, which, as I said before, makes the actual business part a lot easier. So there's 3 general categories that when you're doing business, you can fit all of your activities into. You are either getting noticed, getting known, or getting paid. And without using content, most people are just focusing on getting paid. We are just working on our business engine. But at the end of the day, none of this depends on you becoming an influencer. And yes, you have the chance to attract more people to your business because you created content. But even if you don't, even if, let's say, you got in front of 10 people a month that you got the chance to pitch your core offer to, even if you kept those 10 people per month, but you had this content engine on top of your business engine in order to get noticed by them and then get known by them before they made the purchasing decision, you would be more successful with those 10 people. And that's why I say it's not about becoming an influencer or about going viral. It's about working smarter, not harder, to get people to know who you are, trust your business, and decide to work with you. And no matter what industry your business is in, it's typically going to be made up of these 5 components. You're going to have your core offer. For example, on this YouTube channel, for the last couple of years, I've been helping people to reach financial freedom through their own businesses and through real estate investing. And then the business that I wasn't using content to promote, which ironically was actually helping business owners to run their YouTube channels for their business. We'll get into why I didn't use content for that later, but those would be the core offers. For you, you might have a core offer of running someone's social media. You might have a core offer of building beautiful privacy fences in local areas. You might have a cleaning business. There's a million businesses out there, and they pretty much all start with a core offer. And then from there, there's onboarding SOPs, which are part of your business engine because somebody has to make the decision to pay you. And then there's a transition between they were a prospect, they paid, and now they're a client. And you have to have your standard operating procedures of how you get them into that. And don't worry, we're going to come back to how making content in 2 specific ways is going to make all of this process a lot easier and a lot faster for you. Then you have your fulfillment SOPs, which is just how do you fulfill on the thing that the person paid for. From there, you should have testimonial capture. So for example, when people go to my website, we use a little widget so that anytime somebody drops a testimonial in about working with us, it just automatically populates to the website. And so we almost have like this infinite scroll of people's positive experiences, which of course is going to help people who are considering working with us to understand that like this is a legit product that a lot of people are happy with. These are just like 5 core elements that you want your business to eventually have. You can be working towards it. And then the next is the continuity offer. Say somebody goes through all 4 of these steps and they're really happy with you and you get a testimonial and they're like, okay, see you later. The continuity offer is so that that doesn't happen. It's a way for them to continue working with you, getting services, getting that positive experience, but more so on like a month-to-month basis, whereas a lot of times that core offer is just a one-time payment. So that's the business engine, and that's how to get paid. If this is where you start, business is going to be really, really hard because you are just going to be just flaunting your core offer. It's like going out and just asking people to date you, or better yet, marry you, right off the bat. Right as you meet them. Instead, we can use content in 2 ways, basically on top of this business engine, so that when they arrive and they see this core offer and start going through this process, not only are they more willing to invest in your core offer, but they also already have a positive mindset and a positive impression of who you and your brand are, so that if you make any mistakes during this process, it's okay. Typically, we are more willing to be gracious and forgiving when we have a little bit of a bumpy experience with someone that we know, like, and trust, versus if it was a complete stranger. Think about like if you're walking past your mom in the kitchen and she bumps into you, you're probably not gonna like square up and try to fight her, but if that happened in the grocery store, you know, things might go down a little differently. So how do we add a content engine on top of our business so that before we try to get paid, we are first getting noticed and then getting known? So when people arrive at get paid, they have an entire different perception of who we are and what we do. And it makes this entire process a lot easier, which of course is going to make you a lot more money. Let's start with get noticed. There's really only 2 ways for you to get someone to notice your business. You can either attract them to your business, or you can go out and approach them and try to bring them back into your business. And so this one would be a little bit of a cycle. Regardless of which of these 2 that you do, there's 4 types of assets that people can encounter when you get their attention and they come in and they notice your business. The most important thing that you want them to see are your content assets. And this is not a YouTube channel. This is not a viral video. This is just a couple of core pieces of content. They can be written pieces of content. They can be video pieces of content. I'm biased towards video. I think it helps us connect with people better, but it doesn't just have to be video. But it could be written. So think of a social media bio that tells people why they should care who you are and how you can help them, a pinned video pinned to your TikTok or your Instagram, or even your website that has an introduction video about who you are. So you either attracted people to come into your brand, or you went out and you approached them, but they're going to encounter these content assets on your channel. The other thing that they could encounter is your outreach assets. So if you were approaching them, and this is what I was actually doing in my YouTube agency, is we were running cold email campaigns. So we were approaching cold audiences and saying, hey, as a business owner, we know how to run business YouTube channels. We can help you to get more leads into your business and make this entire process easier. Here is a free something that we are using as an outreach asset in order to get their attention. And so there were things like, I'll do a custom loom for you, or here's a free report about your niche, or here's a free audit of your channel. Whatever it is, those were outreach assets. They were the first thing that somebody was encountering when they first noticed my business. Then there's referral assets. And these are just what it sounds like when somebody that you've previously worked with refers you to someone else. And so you might give them a little digital gift card, or you might have a specific landing page that you want them to share with people in their network, which just welcomes them into your business, maybe gives them a chance to book a call with you, but that's the first thing that they encounter. And then there's paid ads. And I personally don't run paid ads, but there are a ton of businesses who are running ads on Instagram, TikTok, Google, and that is the first thing that people are encountering from them. Now notice, none of these things require you to post one video on YouTube every single week. This is just about having a set of landing pages with written content, video content, social media profiles that are optimized with at least a couple pieces of content in your bio or pinned to the top of your profile that answer the question of who the heck you are, why someone should care, and then how you can help them. This is the first way of using content, that even if you just have these assets, and you don't have to have all of them. Really, I only have 2 of these and have been able to grow to multiple tens of thousands per month. So you don't have to do them all, but just with a portion of them, you can have people arrive at the decision to buy your core offer way warmer as a lead than if you didn't have them, right? If you were just approaching people, not running them through any of these options and just saying, hey, can you buy my core offer? But there's a middle step, which is not just get noticed, but get known, that can make it even easier. And this starts with doing something called 7-11-4. And this is a term from a Google research study. I believe it's called 0 Moments of Truth. Honestly, I don't even know why it's called that, but that's what it's called. And it was a study on buyer behavior. And Google has data on all of us. It focused on answering the question of what does someone do when they become aware of a person or a business until the moment that they decide to buy from that business. Because at the start of that journey, they're what's called a cold lead, right? They are very cold, icy to that brand business. They have no connection. They have no like and trust, meaning another face or business in the sea of all the inputs that we see every single day. I said see a lot there, but you get what I'm saying. What happens to move them from being so cold all the way to pulling out their credit card and spending their hard-earned money to work with or receive something from that business? And so Google put together all of these data points about buyer behavior and tracked what happened throughout that process. And they came to the conclusion you have to 7-11 for someone in order to move them through that process. Here's how it breaks down. A potential buyer needs to spend 7 hours with you in order to really gain that know, like, and trust factor. People often talk about how hard it is to make friends once you become an adult and you're out of school. And I think this is one of the reasons. Like, you just spend so much time with the people that you go to school with, way more than 7 hours, that it bonds you really, really quickly. Even if you don't necessarily like the people that you went to school with, you still feel like you know them pretty well. And the same thing happens when somebody spends 7 hours interacting with you or your business's content. The 11 is that those 7 hours happen across 11 different touch points or occurrences. And this is why for my business, we are a YouTube first business. There's a couple other types of content that we make. Like, for example, we're going to do shorts. We're going to post on TikTok. We write emails, right? There's a lot of different types of content that you can use to 7-11 for someone, but YouTube is where long form content lives. And so it's fastest to get to those 7 interactions. And YouTube is this curated home feed. So when someone returns back to YouTube after watching you one time, YouTube's more likely to show them your video again, which is going to help you get to those 11 different instances. Now, the reason that we still do all of this other types of content, like for example, I go live, we do Zoom programs like this self-funded Freedom Challenge, which is a 5-day challenge that we do on Zoom to help people build that business engine that they need inside of their business. So you can check out a link to that in the top comment. We're bringing in-person events this year, so stay tuned for that. This is because the 4 and 7-Eleven 4 is actually what I think the most powerful part is, which is having those 7 hours and 11 interactions in 4 different locations. So if somebody watches a YouTube video and then I pop up on their shorts feed and then they come to a live stream and then to a Zoom and they read my emails and they come to an in-person event, now that know, like, trust factor is going to be so much stronger and they're going to be a much warmer lead because they went through that 7-Eleven 4. And when they arrive at the opportunity to buy my core offer, they're much more likely to say yes. And as they go through their experience with my business, they're much more likely to have a positive experience. And if there are any things that go wrong, they're much more likely to be gracious about it and give us a chance to fix it. Another reason that 7-Eleven 4ing your audience before they get the chance to purchase your core offer is important is because there are a lot of other income streams that you can attach to that 7-Eleven 4 process that aren't going to distract you from your main business. And I think this is the biggest misconception about creating income streams that was definitely a trap that I fell into, which was like, oh, the average millionaire has 7 income streams. And so I tried to set up an income stream here with real estate investing. I thought about trying to purchase some vending machines and doing this affiliate program and all these things that had nothing to do with my core business. And they just spread yourself thin. But if you can monetize and create income streams off of the activities that you're doing anyway for your core business, then you have some synergy and you're still keeping all of your direction focused in one place. So the first income stream that kind of fits this mold is going to be YouTube AdSense. There's no other place that I know of where you can market your business and get paid to do it. Right? If I want to do paid ads, like we talked about earlier, and I go to Facebook, I'm gonna have to pay Facebook to put my content in front of, a potential audience member. When I go make a piece of content on YouTube, I get paid to make it and it still gets in front of a potential client for my business. And so YouTube AdSense is a great way. But there are also others. You can have sponsorships, you can have affiliate partners, you can have digital products, and there's probably others that I can't even think of right now. ChatGPT is the biggest, most popular AI tool out there, but I waited way too long to explore other tools that ended up doing a better job helping me grow my business and make money. Today, I'm sharing how I use Claude instead of ChatGPT in 3 specific situations that business owners typically run into a lot. Plus, all of the prompts and tools that I talk about here are available inside of my free school community. Just use the link in the top comment to sign up and grab them. The first 2 advantages that I find Claude has over ChatGPT is that it's better at writing, and that doesn't sound like AI. So if I'm working through a script, it's better at helping me to make adjustments or add clarity without taking over what I already have and making it sound just like super AI. Also, I find that Claude hallucinates less, and I can give longer streams of instructions without it forgetting what we're talking about or just making something up completely in the way that ChatGPT sometimes does. Now, I pay for both a ChatGPT and a Claude subscription because I do find that there are things I use ChatGPT for. I have another video that talks about that. The third thing that I use Claude for actually demonstrates how well it takes long streams of instructions without hallucinating and its copywriting ability all at the same time, and that's within its live artifacts feature. If you've ever wanted to set up a landing page to collect email addresses for something like a lead magnet, you know that most website providers have this type of drag and drop website builder. And I don't know why, but I have never been very good at designing these and actually making them look good. So when I recently went to revamp our website, I was like, am I going to really pay someone thousands of dollars to revamp this? Or am I going to spend tons of hours to build it out myself and try to make it look good? Which is when I came across the third option of having a chatbot actually code the website up for me. and doing this on Claude, like I said, using their live artifacts feature. So here's what it looks like. This is a landing page for a free AI video training. I'll link it below if you want to check it out. And it talks about what you get. It has the form, it has who I am, as well as covers the 9 AI money systems that I talk about in that training. Now, if I wanted to build out this page, like I said, I would have to pay someone a lot of money, or I would have to try and code and design it and make it all look good myself. But instead, this landing page was actually coded by Claude. So instead of me using the drag and drop feature, I literally just told Claude what I wanted and pasted in the code that it gave me into this custom code editor. And so in a nutshell, this is what it looks like. You can see that this page is for my free AI video training, and I actually also have this easy place where I can A/B test different headlines. And that was actually something that Claude suggested that I do. And it's written almost 1,000 lines of code, and that's exactly what you're seeing here. And as someone who doesn't have a big technical background, and having Claude show me exactly what the landing page is going to look like before I ever leave the chat window is like an absolute game changer. So here's just an example of I have Claude running the code and showing how this works. But you can run code inside of something like ChatGPT, but they don't have that live artifact feature that lets you go back and forth within the chat window, making edits in real time, which again is where the fact that Claude doesn't hallucinate as much, and the fact that the writing that it's actually going to help you put on the website, the headlines it's going to suggest, I find to be way better. So let me show you what that looks like. Also, this video isn't sponsored by Claude or ChatGPT. I'm just showing you what I use and what I like about it. So rather than you seeing one that I've already made, let's start from scratch and say, build me a landing page for a Christmas mug company's free giveaway. Show me in a live artifact. Why did I pick that? Because my mug is right here. It says ho ho ho. All right, so it's gonna code it up for us. Now, you don't always have to ask for a live artifact. Sometimes it will just give it to you, but I like to ask because sometimes it will just give you the code, and it just saves a little bit of time if you can get the artifact on the first go. So it's coding it up right now. So there we go. It is all coded up, and you can see that Claude has set up just like a couple of different things. I wouldn't publish this page as is because I don't think AI should be the final thing that you put out into the world, but this is a great way to get started with design. It's even got like some snowflakes falling in the background, which I could absolutely never do in this drag and drop editor. And then what I like is that you can still just interact with it here like a normal chatbot. So maybe I want to say giveaway ends Christmas Eve. Let's make that clear and create a countdown timer. So like I said, this is something I use Claude for. I think that there are some features like the live artifact feature, which are pretty cool. And it also seems to hallucinate less and have better creative writing. Another way that you could use the live artifact feature, which is something that I do, is to create visual dashboards for data inside of your business. So while this finishes making those edits, let me show you an example of what that looks like. This is the type of dashboard that we share with our clients and mentorship students. This one has anonymized data, so this isn't like anyone's real data, but basically we just have a Google Sheet that is automatically connected to our website, and so it's automatically filling in when we're getting different leads or YouTube views or people signing up, in this case, to a paid school community. From there, I can then just take that Google Sheet, feed it into Claude, and say, create me a live artifact visualizing this data. And so we track things like our conversion funnel of how many people are noticing us through something like our views on social media, how many people are moving to the get known step where we're building know, like, and trust. And for this client, we do that with a AI-powered quiz. And then how many people are deciding to pay us. And this would be an example of someone who has a paid school community that got 121 signups and led to $4,719 in extra monthly recurring revenue. So we can see that really clearly. We can see like the daily trend of where the views are coming from, the traffic sources, as well as a performance breakdown by week, and then like a daily breakdown of everything here. So like I said, this is anonymous data, but you could very easily set this up for your business and start to visualize what's happening and not just get lost in spreadsheets. And I built that the exact same way that I built this live artifact, just by feeding in the sheet and then saying, hey, make me a live artifact of this. So now you can see that this shows the giveaway ends Christmas Eve, and I've got a countdown. Like I said, if you want to learn more about how to build these things and how I use different AI tools, just head to the link in the top comment to join the free school community, and you'll see everything there. If you've ever lowered your prices to land a client only for them to smell the desperation on you and ghost, or if you've ever built up the courage to raise your prices only for everyone who was interested to suddenly vanish, here's exactly why that's happening and how you can ethically fix it and feel really good about making sales that people are excited to buy. The first thing you have to know is that your market is not special. Whoever it is that you are serving and selling to is going to be a combination of people that follow the same patterns as every other group of people. And in particular, it's the 80-20 rule that we can apply to most things that also applies here. In any market, the top 20% of buyers are going to hold 80% of the budget, and they're going to be dispersed between what we call the top of market and the middle of the market. And in these two segments, because they have more budget, buyers are going to consider things other than just price when making a purchasing decision. Now, the mass market, which is the bottom 80% that only has 20% of the budget, is where most people start. And the problem is that most people ignore this top 20% of their market. They only focus on the mass market, the bottom 80% that have 20% of the budget. And this is where people are most price sensitive. The problem is the way that you're presenting your offer is usually speaking to that bottom 80% that only has 20% of the budget and actually turning away the top 20% that have 80% of the budget. And the reason that we typically ignore the top segment of the market is because we have a lack of conviction about our ability to actually deliver a good result. And we don't want to be bad people. We don't want to be scammers. And this is the exact problem that I saw for myself inside of my YouTube agency and how I raised my prices from $500 to $2,500 in just a couple of weeks and actually got more clients that were happier with the work that we were doing for them. And by the way, if you're new here, my name is Lili. This channel is where I document my financial freedom journey and bring you along with me. I'm interrupting the video to let you know real quick that we are doing Vlogmas. That means every single day until Christmas, I will be posting a video on this channel, but I'm also going to supercharge it and go as hard as I absolutely can because I don't believe in waiting for January 1st. So not only will there be a daily YouTube video here on the channel, but I'll also be posting a daily school exclusive, which is a video where I go deep on a single topic that probably wouldn't perform well on YouTube, but is super important to your business and your financial freedom journey. Because if you're like me, there's no reason to wait until January 1st. Just click the link in the top comment to join school, and back to the video. This lack of conviction problem that makes us desperate and keeps us begging the wrong segment of the market is the exact problem that I had when I started my YouTube agency. I decided that I would charge $500 per month to run an entire YouTube channel for a business owner. And most of that money I was planning on giving to an editor to actually edit the videos every week. And I was gonna work for free until I could get proof of concept and get some testimonials. But here's the problem. I was pricing my services to survive, not pricing my services to deliver a spectacular result. And that communicated to the business owners that I was reaching out to that there was no way I could do a really good job with their public-facing YouTube channel. And this is the mental breakthrough that allowed me to have conviction in my offer, raise my prices, and have the potential client be happier that I was having a higher price. It all comes down to the fact that people buy things to raise their status, whether it's the status that the world has the impression of them for, or it's the status that they have internally. And that second one can oftentimes be even more important. Think about a 47-year-old man who lives in California. If he was to buy a Lamborghini, would it raise or lower his status? Most people would say raise. If he was to buy a minivan, would it raise or lower his status? Most people would say lower. It's all dependent on the context. If he's a stay-at-home father of 4 and he drops his kids off at school and picks them up every single day, when he goes into that school drop-off line, does driving a 2-seater Lamborghini raise his status as a dedicated father that loves his children? But if he had a brand new minivan with top-of-the-line safety ratings and little TVs on the back of all the seats for each kid to watch their own individual YouTube videos, that would absolutely raise his status as a dedicated father, not just to the other parents in the school pickup line, but also to himself. And so we really need to consider, is what we're offering raising or lowering the status of the person that we're helping. So here's 3 ways you can communicate to your potential client that your offer is going to raise their status. The first status raiser is the idea of where do I belong? And this helps your customers stay in social alignment with the people around them. Like I said, that Lamborghini would lower the social status of that dedicated father of 4. In another context, if he was a tech CEO going to give a keynote speech, the Lamborghini would raise his social status. The second thing you can do is give them something that others can't have: access to scarcity. Rolls-Royce makes 6,000 cars per year. Toyota makes 10.3 million. And so for someone who values having access to scarce things, buying a Toyota, while yes, it would be cheaper and lower on price, would actually lower their status in their own eyes than if they were to buy the super scarce Rolls-Royce. Then there's the idea of what the person wants to communicate that they prioritize. For me, it doesn't matter if I go into a gas station and they slap a discount sticker on the day-old sushi. I don't want to purchase it, not just because I think it's going to get me sick, because internally that would lower my status to myself and make me feel like I'm working so hard to be a business owner and to gain financial freedom, and I can't go to the restaurant to get high quality sushi. I've got to buy it from the gas station with a discount sticker. So even though it's cheaper, buying it would lower my status, and therefore it's not something that I'm going to do. And so you can see how if you are making an offer in a way to your potential client that is lowering their status, either by lowering your price, slapping that discount sticker on some gas station sushi, making them feel ostracized from their social network, or any way that you could lower their status, they're just not going to buy. Another way you could be making this mistake and how you can easily fix it is by thinking about the delivery vehicle that you present your offer in. For each level of that market pyramid, you want to think about what delivery vehicle is going to work best for them. When I first started finding success on YouTube, I did what most people do, and I thought about making an online course that would help people grow their own YouTube channels and pricing it as cheaply as I could so that people would want to buy it over the competition. I was focusing on that mass market and just competing on price. I wasn't at all thinking about the status or the delivery vehicle that I was using to communicate to my customer. That online course and lots of digital products like this fall into the DIY or do-it-yourself delivery vehicle. And this is something that can appeal to the mass market because you can make it once and sell it multiple times, and therefore you can sell it pretty cheaply. But I quickly realized that a $50 online course was not going to move me towards financial freedom in any significant way unless I literally sold tens of thousands of them. So instead, I tried to go to that top of market and offer them a done-for-you delivery vehicle. I'll run your entire YouTube channel for you. I'll do the strategy, I'll do the editing, I'll do the posting, the repurposing, all that good stuff. But the problem was the delivery vehicle and the price didn't match. I was offering a done-for-you service with a do-it-yourself pricing. And while I thought that meant I was telling those customers, oh, look at all of this great value you're getting, actually all I was communicating was that I wouldn't be able to deliver on that end result because my pricing and my delivery vehicle were mismatched. There's also the middle ground of the done-with-you offer. And this is an example of that challenge I was telling you about, where part of the work is done by me and my team to help people gain clarity and the conviction and pricing and analyze everything that's going on in their business and give them that insight and advice. But then the other part of it is what they have to go out and do on their own. And so it's really like a combination, which allows it to kind of sit in that middle tier of pricing. I was listening to a podcast this morning from this guy who owns contentremoval.com. It's basically a service that can get unwanted or illegal content removed off of the internet for people. Really cool, important service, I think. He could have gone to the mass market and sold a course to different people who maybe an ex-partner posted something unsavory of them online after a breakup and they wanted to learn how to go to the correct channels to get it removed. But again, this is ignoring the top of the market that has most of the budget. Because if you're like me and you'll see like a boxing match that was pay-per-view and it's online, or you see a video of a Beyonce concert and her makeup looks bad or she had a wardrobe malfunction, and you see that video online, but then like 5 minutes later your feed refreshes and now it says content not available. It's someone like him that's behind the scenes of that. And that's the top of market, right? That's the 1% that has the vast majority of the budget. If he was to offer ESPN, pay-per-view, or Beyonce a do-it-yourself service, hey Beyonce, log into your Instagram and follow this online course to go do this, this, and that would be lowering those people's status. That would be asking them to do work that their level of budget affords them the ability not to do. And so instead, should just offer a done-for-you service to those people at the top of the market, because that is going to raise their status, that is going to deliver to them the result in the best delivery vehicle for them.